Well, it is clear to me that Reform UK is no longer just a political movement. It's a party gearing up to govern. Having just returned from the Reform UK conference myself, I can say with certainty that the energy was nothing short of electric. I've attended countless party conferences myself, Labour, Conservative, you name it. And they all often feel like a predictable slog. Delegates clapping on cue as leaders drone on about their latest uninspired policy reviews. Reform UK, however, has shattered that mould. This was something entirely different. Picture defections, sparking roars of approval, fireworks lighting up the room and a stage set-up that could rival only a MAGA mega rally. They even had Jackson 5 tribute acts rocking the after-party. I think some of the Jackson 5 were actually the original ones, but there we go. The speeches were nothing short of electrifying, each one a searing critique of the government's failures, paired with some bold, practical policies and ideas on how to fix them. What's truly remarkable about this is that many of these weren't scripted at all. Reform speakers delivered this vision with raw passion and conviction straight from their hearts.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Well, yeah, you compare that to our beleaguered Prime Minister, who seems to stumble through pre-written speeches he hasn't even bothered to read beforehand. What a sausage. The delegates at the conference were united by what I think is a shared despair for Britain's current state, but also an unshakable hope for radical, lasting change, the kind most people haven't seen in their lifetimes. And forget the lazy caricature of Reform as a party of old white men. The crowd was diverse, vibrant, youthful, and with more young people than I've ever seen at a political event, frankly. Men and women of all ages, creeds and backgrounds filled the room. A true people's army, in my opinion, as Nigel Farage calls it. And this energy is mirrored in Reform's ambition, because with just 4 MPs, they're already landing punches that have eclipsed the Tories, Britain's second largest political party.
The reason why, and I'm going to deliver probably a slightly more serious message, the reason why is this government is in deep and serious trouble. It is falling apart. It is dividing and fracturing. The Conservative Party did that a number of years ago.
Well, that's just humiliating for the Tories to hear. Another one of their former Secretaries of State declare their party is dead. But with this meteoric rise comes a challenge, the same one that has plagued every major political force in recent years: the risk of internal division. Ambitious operators and infighting could threaten to tear Reform apart, because at the end of the day, they are now their biggest threat, aren't they? Yet if the unity and fervour I witnessed at this conference are any indication, Reform UK is ready to face those challenges head-on and redefine, in my opinion, British politics for a generation.
Hello, I'm Bev Turner. Now, it can feel like the money in our bank accounts at the moment does not keep up with the cost of living, and maybe there's a solution. I'm here today with the CEO of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. Cameron, what is TallyMoney?
Well, Bev, with TallyMoney, you get a current account and a debit card, but instead of pounds, you use milligrams of gold as your everyday money.
So why gold?
Gold traditionally is a great store of value. It has, on average, gone up at over 11% per annum for the last 25 years against the pound. It's tripled in value in the last decade. And in the last 2 years alone, it's increased by 50% against the pound. Banks' savings products just can't compete with that level of growth.
But this isn't just about gold. This is about a currency that you guys have created at TallyMoney. Explain it to me as though I'm an idiot.
So, look, people need to be able to hold their earnings and build their savings in a money that retains its value and remains in their legal control and remains theirs to access, away from government control.
Great. You had me at not exposed to government control.
You should feel safe and happy with your money. You should have peace of mind the more money you see in your bank balance, and that's the type of thing we're trying to deliver, and give people choice in the type of money they get to use every day.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you.
Now, let me bring in my panel, journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, former Labour Special Advisor Paul Richards and former Met Detective Peter Bleksley. Now, I can't start without throwing straight away to this Daily Mail front page, because I think, obviously I didn't know this was coming before we were writing this monologue today, but you can see there it says Boris and Farage must unite to crush Labour, and that has come from Nadine Dorries, who just defected publicly yesterday. Right. So, Paul, I said there the biggest threat to Reform UK is itself. I think I'm going to be proven right about that. People like Nadine Dorries, there's been lots of criticism, even from delegates.
I think there's three perils facing Reform UK. One is they're seen as just Tory light, and the more Conservatives of the prominent kind, like Nadine Dorries, join, it's up for us then to say, well, look, it's just the same old Tories with a different badge on. So that's one peril. Second is crankery. And on the final day there, you saw Dr Malhotra stand up and make a speech where he blamed the King's cancer on vaccines and saying that the royal family are getting cancer because of vaccines, which was just pure crank nonsense on the platform from the stage. And the third is their record in local government. So as they are increasingly judged not by what they say, but what they do in the places where they're running our public services, putting teenagers in charge of multi-million-pound statutory services, they'll be judged by their deeds, not their words.
Yeah, well, I want to stick on to Nadine Dorries for a second, because, I put that in that speech there because it was the moment that everyone wants a defection. I was saying this the other night, I was on this show, and everyone wants a defection before a party conference because it takes the power into their hands.
Sure, but not this one. I mean, this is trouble.
But that's what I'm getting to, because it's just trouble. Is this trouble?
Yeah.
I think that's not a bad asset for Nigel Farage to get. I mean, she's obviously peddling this line about Boris uniting with Farage because everyone knows that she is famously loyal to Boris Johnson.
But that's a problem, isn't it? Because she should be famously loyal to Nigel Farage only.
But I gather that Nigel Farage, when he was asked about, how did he cope with the Boris influx of immigrants and the online safety bill that she was the architect of, how could he cope with that, with her? And he is known to have said, well, but she's an immensely loyal woman and I prize loyalty above everything else.
But loyalty, she's loyalty to herself.
Loyalty
to her own ego and to her
well, you might say
image.
that, but her loyalty to me seems Boris Johnson, who is, in my opinion, a bygone politician who most people in Reform don't particularly like.
I did to get behind him. Yeah. I'm simply saying she continues to be loyal to him, and I don't think that's about being loyal to herself. I think she is genuinely loyal to Boris Johnson and his family.
I'm not saying... I think she's exceptionally loyal, but she's just joined a new party, Peter. Nadine Dorries just joined a new party. She came out on stage yesterday, very glamorous, a big coup for Reform, because she was a former Secretary of State, one of the highest offices you can hold in the country. Is this trouble? Is this the kind of trouble Reform could get into if they keep on taking Tories in?
This type of headline is hugely damaging, potentially. Let's face it, Boris Johnson is a dishonest, busted political flush.
Absolutely.
And for Nadine Dorries to be piping up like that, she needs to be getting a proper dressing down from Farage and saying, you carry on like that and you're out this party.
Yeah, she shouldn't have said that. I totally agree with that. She should never have gone back to the Boris scenario. She does have value. I've heard Stephen Bush, the great columnist, I think, from the Financial Times, described as a very competent constituency MP, and he never had a problem working with her as a minister. She is absolutely fine in that regard, and she's a name. But you are quite right, Alex, when you talk about there's a danger of Reform becoming, Tory light, Tory 2.0. The fact of the matter is that what Reform needs to do is to take more candidates from Labour. It needs to go into the Labour heartland and it needs to recruit more candidates from the left and it needs some more expertise inside the tent.
In Nigel Farage's opening speech of this party conference, he says this is a party that speaks with one voice. That is
two voices.
That's not.
You cannot have co-leaders of a party. You cannot have co-leaders, and Boris Johnson will not want to be overshone by Nigel Farage. Let's be real. They've taken pops at each other. Anyway, Paul, I want to kind of move back to the crux of what I was talking about, which is that Reform, by all intents and purposes, in my opinion, the Tories are just nowhere to be seen. I don't think anyone's paying attention to Kemi Bain, no matter how impressive she might be and how intelligent she might be. She doesn't get her voice is just missed, isn't it? And at least in many people's eyes, when you see an event like that, and I have been to all these events before, I've been to the Tory Party, I've been to the Labour Party events, they're nothing like that sensational kind of politics you get from Reform UK.
Well, they come and go. I mean, in opposition parties often do have that rallying thing because they can just attack the government. And, you know, I've been to 35 Labour Party conferences. Sometimes they're up, sometimes they're down. This one probably a little bit down. The one before the election a bit more up. And there is a bit more razzmatazz in our politics. But I think this conference actually exposed some of the fault lines in Reform. It put them under a spotlight. They're going to be increasingly under. If you want to take them seriously as an alternative government, and if Farage wants to be seen as an alternative Prime Minister, they're going to have a very strong spotlight shone on them. And I think they will start to crumble under that scrutiny. They've got away with murder up till now, but now it's getting serious.
No, it's a grown-up game now. They will really need to focus because, as you say, the spotlight will be upon them and the media spotlight will be upon them. They will have to be like Caesar's wife, beyond reproach.
Yeah, and what do you think? What do you think of this? Are they sort of the unofficial opposition, Peter, in your opinion?
Oh, without doubt, and the polls reflect that. So clearly they are the opposition, albeit not in terms of parliamentary seat numbers. But when you talk about what might be obstacles for them or hurdles or what could prevent them from seizing power in a very dramatic way, and it would be at the next election. OK, I understand internal division and the such like and headlines like that. But really the truth of the matter is, should they get elected into power, then the real obstacle to all their ambitious and very loud headline reforms will be the inertia of the machinery of state. And I'm talking about what's sometimes called the blob, the civil service, and the inability of governments because of the obstruction of the civil service to political ambitions being met.
Yeah.
Just on a reality check too, I've just done the numbers. In order to have a majority of one seat after the next election, Reform has to gain 324 parliamentary seats.
It's a huge effort.
It's a huge effort. It's a huge effort. And I think there's obviously, you know, one of the interesting things when you look at that headline, so we've got it up on the screen there, when you look at that headline, is that you start to wonder, is there going to be some sort of plot towards the election, which will send a lot of people, a lot of Reform supporters and Tories up in arms. Do you think that as the poll, because the polls always close, don't they? Let's get real. We all know the polls drop. The leading person in the polls tends to drop, and we've had Labour. Ed Miliband was leading David Cameron by 10 points in a previous election. We all know it closes, right? So do you think this actually could be like part of a ploy? Get enough Tories in, and actually a merger of the two parties could be an easy win for us.
A ploy by who?
Well, by Farage and perhaps his colleagues.
But I think Farage's commitment to the destruction of the Conservative Party is on the record, isn't it?
Well, but we all say that, don't we? But don't surely all politicians say they want to destroy each other?
I'll tell you what we as the Labour Party fear the most is a behind-the-scenes deal where they decide not to stand so strongly against each other in about 20 or 30 or 40 seats. Yeah. Jacob Rees-Mogg was talking about that this week, the so-called coupon election, where they cook up a deal, perhaps secretly, but don't campaign against each other and then knock out Labour seats all over the place.
I mean, any kind of deal,
see it.
Don't you think? Any kind of deal, it's far too early for any kind of deal to be talked about at this stage. It's 4 years away.
Yeah, we've got loads of time.
In politics.
We've got loads of time. I guess my worry is, and listen, I think that, like I said, I've been to so many events before, but I think until you go to one of these Reform events, you never really appreciate how different it is.
I don't get invited.
Oh, you just invite, go along yourself. You could get your media pass next year. I'll take people. How about that? I'll take you. You can come with me.
That's a date.
You can, that's a date. I don't know about that. Don't find any vicious rumours around here, Paul. But Peter, my point was this, right? You get to a point where the party is doing so well in the polls. 35% is an incredible number for a party with 4 MPs. And actually, what perhaps they need is as an identifying, as you said, one voice. Are they missing an ideology? Is that what it is here?
No, this is history repeating itself. Because, of course, let's remember, Starmer and this lamentable government only got elected out of a general election that was a protest vote. The entire general election was a protest vote against the lamentable Tories who'd led this country so abysmally for so long. So people didn't vote for Starmer and his party out of an ideological attachment and a will and an enthusiasm and an optimism, they voted to get the Tories out.
Right.
Now I think you'll find that much of the Reform popularity in the polls is because everybody's saying we have to get rid of this lot.
Right.
You see, the thing is I don't think that Reform are missing an ideology. I don't think that at all. I think what they may be missing at the moment is structure and discipline. This is like it's like forcing an army forwards, and you absolutely have to understand the command structure if you're going to achieve anything.
Indeed, Paul. We're going to talk more about these because there's going to be more of these headlines, so we're going to get to them very soon, actually. So please stay with us.